earlier, you, Matt, made a comment that anybody who can conceive, who can get laid, can become a parent. There's no license, there's no tests, there's no anything to become legitimate as a parent. And I just wanted to bring up a quote from the movie Parenthood, where one of the characters is a teenager talking to the mother of his girlfriend, and he's talking about his own father, and he says, okay, I'm drawing a blank. This is crazy. Okay, you need a license to drive a car, to buy beer, to buy cigarettes, to do all of these things, but any half-ass, dumbass, moronic punk can become a father, and there is nothing you can do to stop it. And I just wanted to bring that up and see what you guys thought about that.
Yeah, I remember. Thanks for calling. I appreciate it, Taylor. I remember the quote, the movie, and in many other areas, and there've been a lot of discussions. And I would say, and I'll go ahead and let you go so we can get some more calls on. But while I agree, I'm not advocating licensing parents. I think under the right circumstances, I might. And we've discussed some options that may be practical, in the sense of if couples who found themselves pregnant or were wanting to get pregnant would voluntarily take some training courses, some courses to educate them on reality and what to expect as a parent, that we may be able to provide some incentive to them, tax or otherwise. I'm not handing out money left and right. I'm just looking at possibilities. Actually, we talked about this in the parking lot a couple months ago.
Yeah, and actually, I'm trying to think of what country does this, and I can't think of it right offhand, but there is actually a country that, if children complete their vaccination series, the government provides the families with the benefit for having their children fully vaccinated.
Yeah.
So there are relatively low-cost ways to encourage good parenting practices that really aren't coercive.
Yeah, I don't get to decide where every penny of my tax dollar goes, and while I'm not a big fan of paying the taxes and having the money go all over the place and giving out money to everybody who asks for it, if you made a list of things that I would be willing to have my money to go towards, training for responsible parents is a lot higher on the list than some of the things we're currently spending on. I'm not, okay, some of you wouldn't vote for me because I don't know, evidently some kind of tax and spend guy. But I'm just saying that there are potential avenues out there that we can look at to do things better. That's all I'm looking for. Let's do better. Let's make these cases so absolutely unheard of that it shocks everybody. That even the most jaded people who expect to hear, when I hear a story about a kid being molested by some clergy person, Catholic or otherwise, I'm offended, I'm appalled, I'm not a bit surprised, because there's a real problem there, a problem we've talked about before, and it's the church hiding this. It's shuffling them around to different parishes and things, refusing to work with the police, avoiding any hope of clearing out the problem. So it doesn't surprise me. I want to be surprised when I hear about that. I want this to be so absolutely rare that it almost becomes something that the president comments on.
Yeah.
You know, when the president comes on and some terrible tragedy has happened, some building has been blown up, and the president comes on, or that some kids, it used to be shootings in schools, and the president would come on and say, my fellow Americans, tonight I come to you with a heavy heart over this tragedy, and we need to work together and pull together and blah, blah, blah. That's how rare I want this to be. I want it to be even more rare than that. I want it to not only, when the president comes on to tell you about this terrible tragedy, that it surprises you that this has actually occurred, and you're just awed by it all. That's how rare this should be. It shouldn't be this, I don't ever want to be able to come on this show and talk about bad things done in the name of religion. By the way, if we get to a point, and I'm not saying that it's that all these are done in the name of religion or as part of religion. Religion is feeding in the problem. If we ever get to a point where I can find no flaws with religion other than I simply don't agree with it, I think it's wrong, and I think it leads people to make bad decisions, I won't have a lot of reason to speak out about it. Because in that scenario, people are no longer attempting to legislate their beliefs on others. They're no longer acting as a safe house for the bad seeds in their group. They're just having their own private beliefs, willingly living whatever deluded life they want to, for whatever reason. We're done. I mean, apart from pointing out real problems, I got no comment on the subject. I mean, if you believe that there's a God because you feel him in your life, there's no argument I can possibly make. The only thing I can do is say, I don't feel that. And if I did, then I would believe as you do, assuming that it's, accurate, that I could eliminate, self-deception or hallucinations or whatever. I don't want to diminish it. I'm just saying I can't demonstrate that. And it is patently absurd for you, somebody who believes because you've had some personal contact. If I say that there's a leprechaun that lives in my garage, and I know this is true because I've met him and talked to him and had conversations, and by the way, it's not just an invisible guy. I've touched him, shook his hand, we shared a meal, and he fixed a flat tire for me. I have evidence of this, but it would be stupid of me to think that me telling somebody this story, that they should believe it just based on my word. You may very well have a good reason for believing in God, but unless it's a reason that should also convince somebody else, you're going to get nowhere. And if you're expecting other people to believe on less evidence than you do, you're being silly. And if there's a God out there that is handing out more evidence to some people than to others, and then punishing them all or rewarding them all equally without any regard, why can't I have an experience like Paul on the road to Damascus? Why can't God lead me around through the wilderness by a pillar of cloud by day and a pillar of fire by night and feed me manna from heaven as I wander? Why can't I have an experience like that? Where are those miracles? Why do those people get special treatment? Why do they get this divine revelation that is so clear that, okay, yeah, you're God, and yet other people are not getting that? I mean, that's a question you really got to ask. It's like, and we heard this before from believers and from battered wives, battered spouses. Oh, they're only doing it because they love me, or I'm the one that messed up, I deserved it. Yeah, they're punishing you because they love you. They're trying to hurt you to help you. You deserved it. You did wrong. They're the ones who are right. It's silly. And don't get me wrong, I'm not, I don't want to seem that I'm oversimplifying the situation that battered spouses are in, and I don't want to seem that I'm sitting here just pitying everybody because they can't rise above it. I realize it's a difficult thing. What I'm saying is that it's not true, that these are self-deceptions. These are ways that we have of making ourselves put up with bad things or explain away the confusion, the contradiction, in order to keep the belief that we cherish. We are so desperate for somebody to love us that even when we're being mistreated, we're going to keep going along with it so that they love us. We're so desperate because we know that somewhere down deep that that's not the case. In that individual one-on-one relationship, we know it's not the case, but we keep doing it anyway. Some people do. And yet we all realize that this happens all the time, and we can even see it in other people, but not necessarily in ourselves. And then we into that, knowing how bad this relationship is and clinging to the hope of this illusory love, this fantasy soulmate figure, we extend that to the idea that there's somebody out there in the cosmos who absolutely loves us unconditionally and wants nothing but the best for us. And we extend those same excuses to that somebody. There's no reason to think that there is anything like that out there other than your need for there to be something out there. It would be much better if you just realized that if God operates, supposedly, consistent with chance. If prayer works at the same rate as chance, if good and evil happens to similar people in roughly similar regard, disparate people in similar regard, that there's probably nothing out there, that you are wasting time actually focusing on this when you could be enjoying your life. I'm not saying that you are pitiful people who should get over your delusions. I understand it. I've been there. I don't mean that in the I got better. I did get better, but it's not meant to be condescending. It's just the way we are. And I don't want to make it sound like this explains everything about every god or religion, but I think it explains a lot.